You ever notice how rules just sort of appear? They don't knock on your door, they don't introduce themselves, they don't hand you a business card. One day you're living your life, and the next day there's a laminated sign on the wall telling you, "Don't touch this." And the best part? Nobody remembers who made the damn rule in the first place. It's like they just drifted down from the heavens, written by some invisible committee of busybodies with nothing better to do. Rules are like weeds. Nobody plants them, nobody waters them, but they're always there, sprouting up through every crack in society. You don't even notice until you trip over one. When you're a kid, they hit you early with the small stuff. Don't run in the hallways. Why? Because the hallways might collapse under the pressure of your little sneakers. Don't chew gum in class. Why? Because one day a wad of Publicious might bring down the entire educational system. They tell you these things with such confidence, like they're universal truths, as if chewing is up there with gravity and thermodynamics, and you believe them. Because you're a kid and every grown-up looks like they've been to rule school, studied the sacred scrolls of nonsense, and graduated magna cum laude in how to boss around children. Then you grow up and you realize the rules never stop. They just get weirder. Suddenly you're at work and there's a handbook thicker than the Bible, except at least the Bible had some good stories. The employee handbook is just page after page of don't wear sandals. Don't use the microwave for fish. Don't look directly at the boss when he's stressed out. And every company has that one insane rule nobody can explain. Like, do not park in spot 17 under any circumstances. What the hell happened in spot 17? Did it swallow a Buick whole back in 82? Was there a sinkhole? Did somebody's ego get buried there and they don't want it dug up? Nobody knows, but there it is, written in bold, and everyone tiptoes around it like it's radioactive. And then you notice something magical. When you actually ask, "Hey, who made this rule?" Nobody knows. Nobody. You'd think the person responsible would step forward proudly, like, "Yes, that was me. I am the guardian of spot 17. But nope. Everyone just shrugs, points to someone else, and eventually you trace it back to an ancient secretary from 3 offices ago who once had a bad day and decided no more parking there. And it stuck. That's the beauty of rules. Once they're made, they're harder to kill than cockroaches. What I love is how people defend rules they don't even understand. You question it, and they give you that look, that panicked deerin', the headlights look, like you just challenged the foundation of civilization. Why can't we park there? Because that's the rule. Oh, thank you for clearing that up, Socrates. I thought we were talking about logic. Turns out we're just reciting mantras. People treat rules like they're magic spells. Don't question them, don't mess with them, just chant them and hope the universe doesn't collapse. And the rules aren't just at work, oh no, they follow you everywhere. Gyms, restaurants, public pools. Every place has a little laminated sign with rules written by some committee of professional buzzkills. You walk into a public pool and you're greeted by a giant list. No running, no diving, no food, no drinks, no horseplay, no splashing, no fun, basically. It's a pool. The whole point is water and chaos. You take all that away, and it's just a big bathtub with strangers, and people actually enforce it. Lifeguards with whistles, little dictators of chlorine. They're not saving lives, they're blowing the whistle on a 6. You're old who dared to laugh too loudly while jumping in. Airports are another rule circus. You ever go through airport security? That place is like a rule theme park. Take off your shoes, take off your belt, empty your pockets, don't bring liquids, don't make jokes. It's a parade of commands, and every airport has its own weird variations. Some places make you take out your laptop, some don't. Some want your bag of toiletries in a plastic bag. some don't care. By the end, you're standing there half naked, barefoot, holding a bag of toothpaste and shampoo like a shoplifter caught in the act, and you still don't know if you did it right, and the best part, you ask why, and they don't know either. It's the rule. That's it. End of discussion. They could tell you to hop on one leg and sing the national anthem backwards, and people would line up, because it's the rule. Rules multiply the moment someone has a clipboard. Put a clipboard in someone's hand, and suddenly there Moses on the mountaintop, handing down commandments. No drinks in this area. No cell phones past this line. No sitting unless authorized. Who authorizes sitting? Who's out there with a PhD in chair distribution? But they've got that clipboard, so you nod along, because nothing looks more official than a piece of paper on a board. A clipboard could make a toddler look like a field marshal. You know what else is funny? Some rules only exist to protect other rules, a chain of nonsense, like don't use the employee fridge unless your name is on your lunch. Why? Because there was another rule, don't steal lunches, that people ignored. So now they invented a new rule to cover the old one. Rule breeding, that's what it is. Rules breed like rabbits. One stupid incident spawns a whole family tree of restrictions, until suddenly you're living in a forest of laminated nonsense, and nobody remembers where it all started. Even the signs crack me up. You go to a park, and you see a sign with so many rules it looks like a novel. No littering, no dogs off leashes, no alcohol, no amplified music, no skateboards, no feeding the ducks, no climbing the trees, no smoking, no fireworks, no fun. You're standing there thinking, what the hell can I do here? Just stand quietly like a lamppost until the park ranger pats you on the head. Rules don't guide you, they strangle the joy right out of the experience. And people act like the rules are sacred until they break them themselves. That's the real kicker. You'll see a park ranger sneaking a smoke, or the boss eating fish in the office microwave, or the lifeguard doing cannonballs after hours. Everyone's guilty. Nobody follows every rule, but we still keep them around like they're holy relics. It's the grand comedy of human civilization. We all agree to obey rules we don't believe in, don't understand, and don't even remember creating. It's like living inside a bad improv sketch that never ends. So here we are, surrounded by rules written by ghosts, defended by parrots, enforced by clipboards, and broken by everyone. That's life. That's society. That's the big joke we all agreed to be the punchline for. Because the truth is, nobody knows who wrote the rules, but everybody sure as hell follows them. You ever notice how some rules walk around wearing a tuxedo while others show up in sweatpants? Some rules are treated like they were delivered straight from a burning bush, while others are casually tossed aside like yesterday's grocery list. It's hysterical. Society loves to rank its rules like they're in a beauty pageant. This one is vital to the survival of civilization. That one, that's more of a suggestion. You know, like washing your hands before eating peanuts, and the decision of which rule gets which status. Completely random. There's no logic, no universal standard. It's just a bunch of people pretending there's a difference between sacred law and something somebody scribbled on a napkin during a boring meeting. Think about the way people treat important rules. They talk about them with that holy tone, the kind that makes you think violators will be struck by lightning. This is a serious rule, a fundamental rule, a non-negotiable rule. And yet, watch what happens when it gets in the way of someone's lunch break. Suddenly, that sacred rule transforms into a guideline, a policy, a recommendation, or my favorite, something we try to follow when it's convenient. Convenient. That's the magic word. Nothing downgrades a rule faster than the smell of inconvenience. One whiff and the mighty law of the land becomes a polite suggestion. Take the workplace, for example. They love their important rules. Every office has a dress code that sounds like it was written by a frustrated tailor. No jeans, no sneakers, no casual Fridays unless approved in advance. They make it sound like you're preparing for a royal wedding. But then the boss shows up in golf shorts because he's heading to a meeting later, and suddenly everyone's nodding like this makes perfect sense. Oh sure, it's an executive exemption. The rulebook doesn't apply to the guy who printed it. That's how you know a rule is really important. It bends automatically when someone with a bigger desk wants to wear sandals. Restaurants are another circus. They've got rules posted right there at the door. Proper attire required, no outside food or drink. They act like these rules are the backbone of civilization, and yet let a celebrity or a big spender stroll in with a milkshake from across the street and watch the staff scramble to seat them like royalty. Suddenly the no outside food or rule is just a quaint suggestion. They'll even bring a straw, but you try sneaking in with a bag of fries, and they treat you like you're attempting a jewel heist. Same rule, different wallet. And the government, oh, they're masters of the double standard. They've got rules about everything, taxes, paperwork, permits, forms for the forms, all of it stamped, signed, sealed with solemn authority. But when a politician wants to cut a ribbon or shake a hand, those same ironclad procedures melt like ice cream in August. Oh, that regulation will fast-track it. Fast track? I thought it was a sacred process carved in stone. Nope, turns out stone gets a lot softer when someone important needs a photo op. You see it everywhere, this hierarchy of hypocrisy. Airports are my personal favorite. They're full of mandatory rules. All passengers must arrive 2 hours early. Really, tell that to the guy in first class who saunters in 20 minutes before takeoff like he owns the runway. No one's patting him down. Meanwhile, you're standing barefoot in a security line, holding a sad little bag of toiletries, wondering if you're about to be arrested for carrying too much toothpaste. Apparently, toothpaste is a threat unless you have a platinum credit card. And sports. Don't even get me started on sports. They're a cathedral of double standards. Rules for the players, rules for the coaches, rules for the fans. No touching the ball with your hands. Unless you're the goalie. No stepping out of bounds. Unless you're the guy selling popcorn and nobody cares. No celebrating excessively. Unless you're the mascot who can practically commit interpretive dance crimes and still get applause. They'll penalize a player for having his socks too low, but let the owner rewrite the salary cap during halftime. Sacred rules, but only for the little guys. The funniest part is when people try to explain these contradictions. They put on their serious face and say things like, "Well, you see, it's different in this case." Oh, is it? That's the universal excuse for breaking a supposedly unbreakable rule. It's different in this case. Translation: I don't feel like following it right now, and I'm hoping you don't notice. It's the same logic kids use when they eat cookies before dinner. But Mom, it's a special occasion. Sure it is, Timmy. Every day is a special occasion when sugar's involved, and don't you love how rules suddenly develop secret escape hatches the moment someone important needs to wriggle out? They call it discretion. That's a fancy word for we'll look the other way if we like you. You see a sign that says, "Absolutely no exceptions," and you think, okay, that's clear. Then the right person walks by, and suddenly the sign might as well say, "Exceptions available upon request." Wink, wink. They don't even bother hiding it. They'll tell you straight-faced, "Well, we have to be flexible." Flexible. Yesterday this was the hill humanity would die on. Today it's yoga. Even in families, the double standards are priceless. Parents are rule factories. No dessert before dinner, no staying up late, no TV on school nights. These rules are presented as if the survival of the species depends on them, but let a parent get tired or distracted, and suddenly the bedtime rule is negotiable, the dessert rule is a reward. And the no TV rule is just for weekdays, unless it's a weekend that feels like a weekday. Kids catch on fast. They learn that the real rule isn't the one you post on the fridge, it's the one you can get away with. Churches, clubs, neighborhoods, even little hobby groups, they all have their own sacred commandments. Members must attend every meeting until the president decides to skip a few, no outside snacks, until somebody's grandma brings her famous pie. No talking during announcements. Until the leader wants to share a funny story, they create the rule, break it themselves, and still expect you to act like the rule is holy scripture. It's like watching a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat and then deny owning a hat. What makes it truly hilarious is how seriously people take the performance. They'll argue for hours about why a rule applies here but not there. They'll whip out charts, documents, and historical precedents to justify why sandals were forbidden last week but celebrated this week. They look like lawyers in a courtroom, except the case is about whether you can eat a sandwich in the break room. All that energy, all that passion, poured into defending something they're going to ignore tomorrow. And let's not forget the emergency override, for safety reasons. Ah yes, the universal trump card. Nothing ends a debate faster than invoking safety. Why can't I bring this bottle of water? Safety reasons. Why can't we use the elevator? Safety reasons. Why can't I park in this spot? Safety reasons. You can't argue with safety. It's the perfect get-out-of-logic-free card. They don't have to prove anything. They just say the word and poof, conversation over. It could be the safest situation in the world. But the moment they say safety, you're suddenly standing in a danger zone that only their clipboard can protect you from. But here's the kicker, everybody knows it's a game. Deep down, we all understand that important rules are just regular rules wearing a fancy hat. We know that the same people enforcing them are bending them when nobody's looking. We know that mandatory is just a word people use to sound official until the right person shows up, and yet we play along. We nod, we obey, we line up like good little sheep, all while knowing the shepherd is sneaking out the back door with a cookie in his pocket. That's the grand joke of society. The so-called important rules are only as strong as the mood of the person standing next to them. Isn't it beautiful how the one rule everybody secretly agrees on is that every other rule is eventually meant to be broken? That's the big hidden punchline in life. We spend all this time pretending we're devoted to these grand, noble, carefully written instructions, and meanwhile everybody's sneaking around finding creative ways to wiggle out of them. The greatest human invention isn't the wheel or the light bulb, it's the loophole. People talk about progress, but the real history of civilization is just generation after generation inventing fancier excuses to get around the nonsense somebody else wrote down. You see it the moment kids figure out how to walk. A toddler will hear "don't touch that" and immediately dedicate their entire day to touching that exact thing. They'll crawl, climb, plot, and wait for you to turn your back. They're not being bad, they're just natural scientists. They've already discovered the first great truth of humanity: the forbidden cookie tastes the best. By the time they can form a full sentence, they've mastered the art of bargaining. I didn't touch it, I just looked at it. Congratulations, kid, you're ready for politics. Adults aren't any different. We just hide it behind paperwork and polite smiles. Take the workplace. There's always some grand policy in the handbook that everyone treats like sacred law until the door closes. No personal calls on company time. Right. That's why half the office is whispering into their phones behind a filing cabinet. No eating at your desk, which explains the faint smell of microwaved leftovers drifting through the air like an invisible confession. Everybody knows these rules exist, and everybody quietly agrees not to care. It's like a group performance of silent rebellion, a corporate ballet of polite hypocrisy. Traffic rules might be the most universal comedy. Red lights, speed limits, no parking zones. They're all written in official government ink. And yet every single driver on the planet has a personal list of reasonable exceptions. 5 miles over the limit isn't really speeding. Rolling through a stop sign counts as stopping if you squint. Parking for just 2 minutes isn't parking, it's pausing. We've turned driving into a game of legal jazz. Follow the melody until you feel like improvising. And the best part, everyone acts shocked when they get a ticket. I can't believe it. Really, you broke the rule, and the person whose job it is to enforce the rule noticed. What an unpredictable twist. Even the people who write the rules can't resist breaking them. Politicians, bosses, managers, they all have that one temporary exemption for themselves. They call it discretion, but it's really just the adult version of sneaking a cookie. They'll draft a regulation with one hand and cross their fingers with the other. The moment they need a shortcut, suddenly the iron law becomes a friendly suggestion. And when someone else gets caught, they'll deliver a solemn lecture about the importance of order. It's like watching a magician reveal a trick and then insist it was real magic all along. Social rules are even better because they're invisible. Nobody hands you a pamphlet explaining how to behave at a dinner party, but somehow everyone knows the unwritten commands. Don't double dip, don't talk with your mouth full, don't ask about someone's salary, and yet every party has at least one person who gleefully smashes those invisible barriers. They'll lick the serving spoon, burp during dessert, and casually announce their income like it's the weather report. And you know what? They usually become the life of the party. Everyone pretends to be horrified while secretly admiring the sheer bravery of someone who ignores the silent script. The best part about rule breaking is how it evolves. At first, it's small, a little bending here, a tiny stretch there, but humans are ambitious. Once you get away with a small break, you start designing whole strategies. We invent secret codes, hand signals, and entire subcultures dedicated to sidestepping the system. Think about dress codes. A school says, no hats. Students respond by inventing hairstyles that look like hats. An office bans casual shoes, and employees start buying formal sneakers that cost 3 times as much but are basically the same thing. That's not disobedience, that's art. Even nature gets in on the act. You ever watch a squirrel figure out a bird feeder? Somebody spends a fortune on a squirrel. Proof, a design, a marvel of engineering with springs, weights, and latches. And within a week, there's a squirrel hanging upside down by its toenails, grinning like it just solved a crossword puzzle. That's the universe sending a message. Rules are just puzzles waiting to be cracked. Airports are practically a laboratory for this behavior. There's a giant sign that says, "Do not cross this line until instructed." And what do people do? They inch forward like a human tide, one shoe at a time, pretending they're just adjusting their stance. Security says, remove all liquids over 3 ounces, and travelers start bringing 5 tiny bottles of shampoo instead of 1 regular bottle. Technically legal, humans will spend more time outsmarting the system than the system ever spent making the rule. It's beautiful. Breaking rules isn't always about rebellion. Sometimes it's pure survival. Life is full of absurd regulations that don't fit reality. Ever read a warranty card or a software agreement? Nobody does. They're pages of microscopic rules designed to be ignored. They know you won't read it. You know you won't read it. It's a mutual understanding. We all just scroll to the bottom, click I agree, and pray we didn't just sign over the naming rights to our firstborn. Technically, We're all breaking the rule that says, read before agreeing. But if you actually followed it, you'd die of old age before finishing a single app download. And don't forget the thrill. There's a little spark of electricity that comes with breaking a rule, even a tiny one. Sneaking a snack into a movie theater feels like smuggling diamonds. Jaywalking across an empty street at midnight feels like starring in an action movie. It's harmless, it's pointless, and it's ridiculously satisfying. That tiny rebellion reminds you that you're alive, that you still have a say in a world that keeps trying to hand you a script. The real irony is that some rules actually encourage their own destruction. The stricter the rule, the more creative people become in breaking it. Ban chewing gum and suddenly kids are inventing elaborate gum. Smuggling operations. Prohibit certain hairstyles and people will invent fashion trends just to test the boundary. It's as if the rule itself plants a seed of resistance. Tell someone you can't, and the human brain immediately starts whispering, "Oh yes, I can." Even the phrase breaking the rules is misleading because most of the time nobody's really breaking anything. We're bending, stretching, nudging. Like a yoga instructor for society's spine, the structure stays intact, but we find the gaps where freedom lives. It's not chaos, it's balance. If everyone followed every rule to the letter, the world would grind to a polite, sterile halt. Nothing would get done. No discoveries, no art, no laughter. Every leap forward, every great idea, every ridiculous invention came from someone who looked at a rule and thought, nah. That's the cosmic joke, isn't it? The biggest unwritten rule of all is that life only works because people keep ignoring the smaller ones. We need the rule breakers to keep the machine running. They're the reason music doesn't all sound like elevator tunes and food doesn't taste like boiled wallpaper. They're the ones who look at a no entry sign and decide maybe, just maybe, the view on the other side is worth a peek. So we pretend to honor the rules, we nod at the signs, we memorize the policies. But deep down, everyone's carrying a quiet little wink in their back pocket, ready to flash it the moment a rule gets in the way of something real. Because in the end, the smartest rule to follow is the one that tells you to laugh at all the others.